Dreamers of all ages, welcome to the Dueling Disney podcast. I am one of your hosts, Andee Zilmerman.
One of your hosts, Andee.
And our whole Disney week, Disney life in the last, I would say 2 weeks, like prepping, going to, and recovering from has been D23. So we're all about the D23 today.
And I finally, as soon as I got back, I got my D23 membership box. I was like,
oh, did you really? I guess I have a little bit more time to go, but so you have, okay. What was in the membership box?
Oh, it's really cool. I mean, they showed it at D23 a lot, but it's like those, mostly it's a pin from each of the parks.
Right,
and then
right.
It had a cool luggage tag and then some Mickey wings from the plane. So it was one of those things where I was like, it was really super tied into D23 stuff. But my my membership renewed on September 1st. And so like literally my membership renewed and they sent the package to me as I was traveling to D23. So I didn't have my updated D23 membership card.
Oh, right. But you could get it now on the Disneyland app.
Yeah. It wasn't a problem. Yeah. I was able to get it virtually, but I'm weird. So I was just like looking forward to walking around with the official plastic card, like Wayne's World backstage passes kind of thing.
Wayne's World. Yeah. And it got you so much. Anyway, we are super excited that we were able to go to D23 this year. I think about
because we just went to D23.
We're super tired. And that was, but it was all good. And just on the off chance, you are a fan who is listening who doesn't know what D23 is, which I was surprised actually even going around school when people were like, hey, where were you? And I would say, D23. And so some people, even the non-Disney fans, were like, oh, that's so great because they know they saw it on their Instagram. They saw it on their Twitter, all the reveals, all the stuff happened. Oh, that's so great. And then other people were like, what the heck is that? I'm like, oh, it's just, the Disney adult cult. And they're like, okay.
They're like, oh, yes. No, that checks out for you.
So anyway, so D23, Al, I'm gonna start with this, and you tell me if I'm missing something or anything.
Happy to do it. It's one of my favorite things.
I know. D23, and I can totally, I remember this so vividly when it started, and they were at San Diego Comic-Con and on the show floor in 2009. And I remember going like, what is this? And, they were talking about being a membership and getting the special 23 magazine. Now, I was already at this time getting the Disney magazine. Right. Which they discontinued. But at the time, I was like, well, I get the Disney magazine. Like,
why do I need to do other thing?
Do I need to pay to be part of a fan club? And at that time, I said, no, I didn't. But then it turned into, yes, I do.
Yeah, yes. I've been a member for like 5 years now. And the one thing I regret is I wasn't a founding member because I saw my people walking those cool founding member pins. And then a founding members lounge. And I was like,
go back in time. Anyway, they used to have Disneyana conventions. They started small. They got to be a little bit bigger.
And those are sort of the unaffiliated ones. There's a Disneyana convention here in the Bay that I go to every couple months called MouseCon, which I love. It's so much fun, but it's not. And
there's actually Right. There's actually another a group called Disneyana. They're actually having like their little get together, I think in October this year as well. So, and then I know there's one in Seattle and Everett. So like little ones everywhere. But there used to be more of a official Disneyana convention that was smaller. So 2009 comes and they start their club. They have a little get together, not even a little. I don't even know.
I'm sorry. They have their club. Who's the leader of the club?
That's made for you and me?
Yeah. I'm just curious. I don't know if you know.
I think it's Donald Duck.
Yeah, gotcha.
He's pretty upset about not being the leader of the club, if you recall. Anyway, so the D23 then started. They decided to have a major convention every other year. So on the odd years, they would have.
I think they might flip it with the Star Wars convention. because they also
Star Wars convention was last year.
So
yeah.
they also run like a comparable Star Wars convention, and so I think they might technically Disney, and these are Disney owned conventions. They might do one every year, but one is D23 and one is the Star Wars Celebration. I think they may go back and forth.
Yeah, but you know what? I think the Star Wars Celebration was in May this year.
Oh, was it?
So it was the same year. But it could have been ruined because of COVID.
Yeah.
COVID threw everything off. So we're no longer on the odd years for D23 since it is 2022. I know that on the odd years, they have a smaller D23 destinations kind of get together in Florida. Yeah. So I think that that's starting back up again next year too. Not as big as what I call the Disney Comic-Con, right? The Disney San Diego Comic-Con, which is like the big studio reveals, and what started off as small, like with Comic-Con, which was just comic books, is now
major, massive Hollywood. Mm-hmm. You know, they bring all the movie stars, and they bring all the props, and they bring everything out, and everybody pretends like they're too cool for it, but then they're like, it's Harrison Ford.
Which you got to see, which is awesome.
I did get to see Harrison Ford, yes.
I think did I miss anything in there? Did I miss anything in telling what the D23
No, I think the only piece is it's in Anaheim, right across from Disneyland Park. So a lot of, I think from a logistics infrastructure perspective, it's easier for them to do it there because they can I kept asking, nobody said for sure, but I think they bring parks employees over to work it.
They do.
So that it's just a lot easier for them to do it than it is. I would imagine it's similar in Orlando, but it's in Anaheim. I personally had reservations for the parks each day of the convention that I ended up canceling because I was so tired and there was no way I was going to go over to the parks after a full day of D23.
It made me remember in 2019 when we were planning on going, and we canceled or decided not to go at the last minute. And I know for me at that time, it was because we wanted Annika's senior pictures taken at Disneyland. It was, I just got very overwhelmed. Yeah. And now being at it, I can see, yes, I would have been. It would have been very so much.
Although knowing Annika, her senior pictures with cosplayers.
I'm glad I know what I know now, right? I mean, we went.
To do both, I think is a young man's game. Like I could not have done both. Maybe I could have done both in my 20s, but not in my 50s. No.
We could have done both if we didn't care about like seeing as much as we could see at D23.
That's true.
We just cared about that. A lot. And my expectations of what I thought I would want to do changed drastically than what we actually did do and where I was happiest and things like that. So just like really quick, and we'll dive into it, but really quick, Al, like what were some of your favorite moments?
Oh my gosh. Like my first D23. Now listeners know I've gone to so many conventions like this. I've been going to Comic-Con for close to 25 years. I have gone to big conventions many, many times. But D23 is just different as a Disney fan. You know, it's all Disney and Disney related properties all the time, which has its drawbacks and benefits. But, you know, my favorite moments are my super nerdy moments when I was in the Marvel panel and they did the number from Rogers the Musical. I thought was really awesome. Even though like there's big movie stars and stuff there, I've never been like I want to see the movie star guy, but that was cool. To just the full on musical number from Hawkeye. Also, I saw the cast from Encanto do We Don't Talk About Bruno twice in two different areas. I really liked Walt's Plane. I thought that was really cool. I mean, just overall, I had a great time for 3 days and I left exhausted. But overall, I so many just individualized moments that I thought were really great. What about you?
Wow, it's really hard for me to pick my favorite moments. Okay, it's got to be for me the people I met. I met people from the plane to, you know, just all through the convention, and it was. I think for me, this is going to be weird to explain, but I'll try. To be in a place with that many thousands of people who are your people,
right. You know
what I mean? And
you don't have to apologize for it. Yeah.
Yeah, but also, you know how political I am, and you know how I can just tell, and even when we're at the Disney parks, right? I can just, it's just sort of clouded my judgment. But here, I really couldn't tell unless I missed something. I really couldn't tell anybody's political agenda.
I mean, I saw a couple of weird T-shirts. But,
Did you?
But nothing.
Okay.
But I'm less sensitive to that kind of stuff, I think, than you are.
Yeah, I don't know why, but
a lifetime of having to deal with it.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even. So the reaction to Halle Bailey being Little Mermaid, I didn't. I could be wrong, but I didn't see anything at D23.
No, I didn't see
it was
any
more
kind
online
of stuff at D23. I thought things I saw was like, oh, this is going to be cool. Or if people, or if people had criticisms, it wasn't based on like, oh, I don't think we should have a black mermaid. It was like, oh, I don't like those special effects, and they need to, which I think is a very different thing, right? And quite honestly, I want us to get to a point in which you can criticize things without it. It's like, if you're criticizing that because you thought the effects were bad, okay, all right, I'm okay with that. Like, but not just, oh, there's a black mermaid, but, or because you confused her with Halle Berry.
I didn't say Halle Berry.
No. That's what I'm saying. You haven't read that. There's been a lot. There was a whole thing, and it keeps happening because it happened when she was first announced, and it happened again when the trailer came out. That people are like, "Why is Halle Berry playing this character? She's in her 50s." And Halle Berry's like, "Thank you, I guess, but it's not me. It's Halle Bailey." And sorry, we have a similar name.
Oh, my lord above, my lord above.
Yeah. Oh. And Halle Berry can do anything she wants. Just let me put that.
No kidding, man. She wants to play a 15-year-old mermaid. You go for it, girl.
Honestly, she looks better than most other people. So,
yeah, I agree.
But no, I didn't see a ton of. I saw a couple of T-shirts, like people, but that's just the world, right? Like, whatever.
I know.
But in general, it wasn't. I didn't see a whole lot of political things. Now, to be fair, the thing that was outside of the convention that I talked to people the most about was like that morning I was traveling. The day before D23 started was the day that Queen Elizabeth passed. So if there was most of the conversations that weren't Disney related were related to Queen Elizabeth. So
to the Queen, yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's true. That was the day of. Yeah, so I would say my favorite moments were the people, and then just to bleed over a little bit, I went to 2 panels that I know we're going to talk about panels in a little bit, but to talk about these, they just meant so much to me. I did go to the Muppets 30th anniversary of the Muppets Christmas Carol. Yay! And for me, yeah. You guys, I just as a long time forever, let's say Sesame Street / Muppets fan, just to see the actual like people doing them up. That's got to be. I didn't get a chance to see that, and I would really have loved to have seen the Muppets. Yeah, I was a little teary. I loved it, and then of course we were both at, and I'm so sad you had to leave early, but we were both at the character voices where we got to actually see the character voices.
And I had to leave after about an hour because I had to get to my plane. But apparently Donny Osmond showed up.
That was so awesome.
I think seeing Donny Osmond is probably a bigger deal for you than it would be for me, but I'm glad you got a chance to see Donny Osmond.
It wasn't just that. It was, yes, it was. I was very excited.
That was my question.
Yes, he was a little bit rock and roll.
And no purple socks. Will understand that reference.
I know. I started singing that to Emma right away. I'm a little bit country and I'm a little bit rock.
And she's like, what is wrong with you?
She really did. And then, of course I shared the picture because Emma, how could I forget? My favorite moment of the whole thing was watching my daughter work.
I know, it's great.
The panels.
She had to work and we could just hang out. That was awesome.
but just like seeing what she had to do, and
you worked so hard.
Seeing her in her work, she worked really, really hard. But then, just some photo opportunities that she had. I was just like, oh my god, do you even know how cool this is? She's like,
She's like, calm down,
Yeah,
Mom.
Mom.
Yeah, we're
Great.
good.
Yeah, calm down,
Yeah.
Mom. So watching her work, that was my favorite. Anyway. So yeah, those are some favorite
Yeah.
moments. And
I
then
mean, we're going to get into more detail about like individual things. We're going to
yeah.
talk a lot about this, but just overall, honestly, highlight just hanging out for 3 days. Like, you know, we live in different states, so we don't get to hang out that much. And hanging out for 3 days and doing Disney stuff was really cool.
Doing what we like to do. Exactly. Yes, you're right. Exactly. So that wasn't, what was it for? So obviously I wasn't a frustration for you. So, or maybe I was. I don't know. What were your frustrations?
I mean, any frustration I might have had, I just, you know, it's been 30 years. Like, you put yourself in these situations so you can't.
I know.
No, it's fun. I mean, we enjoy hanging out, so it's not that big a deal. And we don't get to do it very much. So that's always fun. And I laugh because I think if someone was an outside observer to our dynamic, people would be like, what is going on with these two? I'm like, yeah, no, that's just, you know, how we are. It's fun. We enjoy each other's company, even though people might be like, well, she keeps yelling at you. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's not that big a deal. She's also showed up at 8 this morning and waited an hour in line to get me coffee. So, you know.
Oh my God. Jesus, talk about frustrations. Can we never, ever, ever, ever go to the Starbucks in the Hilton before a convention?
I've been there I've been there for conventions. I've been there.
I know you have. I know you have.
That is the worst I've ever seen at Starbucks. It was insane. An hour for our listeners. Andee, literally, that is not hyperbole, waited in line an hour for almost more to get.
It was more. I got in line at 7:15. I got our coffee at 8:23. And so here's the thing. You're like, well, get out of line, idiot. There's other coffee places around. Yes. But by the time you think that, by the time you get that in your head, you're like, oh, wait, I'm already half hour in. I'm already close to the line. See, I'm already close.
And you don't know it's going to be an hour because it's a very small room. And you're like, well, I'm like 10 feet away from the thing. It can't be an hour.
I'm starting to have a panic attack already. Yeah. We got to get off this subject. Anyway, okay, so frustrations with the convention itself. Did you have any?
I don't know if this is a frustration because I can see both sides of it, but I'm also comparing it to other conventions. And when I've gone there for WonderCon, it's at the Anaheim Convention Center where I go at least once a year for WonderCon, which is Comic-Con's sort of just smaller spring convention. The part of my frustration is Disney security. I've never had to go through a security or a metal detector to go inside. And that was a big bottleneck. It was a big bottleneck that I don't know was super necessary. But then on the other hand, I get it, right? Like if you're a Disney event and it's a high
right around 9/11,
right? Like
right around 9/11.
You know, it's I get it, but it was a little bit frustrating. And I will say my biggest frustration, and they sent me a survey after the convention, and I noted this, was they have this virtual queue system for shopping, which makes sense and it evens out the shopping. But what happens is you go onto the app, you get in the virtual queue to go shopping at one of the exclusive shops, and it says, okay, your time is going to be X number of minutes from now. Now, that time has no actual relation to when you're actually going to go. And it just had a tendency for me to be right in the middle of the other thing that I waited an hour in line for. So if I'm sitting in a panel that I waited an hour in line for, and then my time comes up that I have to go shopping, if I can't leave where I'm at right then, I'm going to lose that shopping appointment. And so for me, I thought it was very frustrating because there was times in which I was just like, I would leave something to go do a shopping thing, and then I'd get to the shopping thing and the shopping thing wasn't worth it. Or I would miss my shopping time and miss out on exclusive. So I just thought that those two things needed to be coordinated a little bit better. And I was really frustrated by that, particularly just because there was I'm going to always compare it to Comic-Con. Once I gave up getting into Hall H at Comic-Con, I just don't wait in lines at Comic-Con. I know everybody has the experience of waiting in line for 24. That's just not part of my conference experience anymore because I don't care about Hall H. Here, in order to see almost anything, there was a line. And I've never experienced where I had to wait in a line to buy things. And that was a little bit frustrating, particularly when you'd wait in the line to buy something. And that first store you and I went to, and we waited. Yeah. We didn't wait super long, but by the time we got in there, I walked through the whole store and there was literally nothing in there that I had any interest in buying. And I was like, well, why did I just spend 2 hours on this? It was a little frustrating. But what about you?
Yeah, I would say the shopping virtual queue was frustrating. For me, it was frustrating because you think you have your time to shop, but really what it is your time to get in line.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's
to shop. So it's not like you got your time and you're like, hi, here's my time, and they let you in. It's, hi, here's my time. Okay, go wait in that queue over there where it's going to take another half an hour to 45 minutes to actually get in the shopping
And then
place.
the one we went to with the Mickey's of Glendale's, we waited almost an hour in the virtual queue.
That's what I mean.
Oh.
That's what I mean. So that was kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
I will say that the Hall D23 experience, that was like the Hall H for Comic-Con. That was like where all the big stuff happened. Right. You have a reservation, right, to do that.
If you can get
reservation.
One. Yeah.
If you can get one, the reservations were lottery based, which I agree. Like, I see why they did what they did, and I get it.
I would like Comic-Con to institute a version of that, because it's not like, but go on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. It's just that you have a reservation, but your reservation doesn't really guarantee you to get in. Your reservation tells you that you get to go in, but they still want you to be there an hour to an hour and a half before the actual event starts. And then they have you wait in their basement queue, and then they start seating. Now, how they seated people was great. I mean, that was definitely a park. That was definitely a park thing. It's like you go where they tell you to go. You're just a lemming. You're just following the person in front of you. So it's not, once you're there, it's not like this mad rush to get your seat or
it's very
push anybody out, because they're going to tell you. Very organized. I just didn't want to be there an hour and a half before my reservation. If I had a reservation, I would have liked to just show up.
Right. I mean, and like a half hour is reasonable, right? Like, show up and make sure you're seated so the program can start on time. But like, so much time lost in other things just waiting for this one thing to start, right?
Yeah, and that just as a frustration, that just tells me next time, do I really, really want to be there in the room for the reveals if I have a reservation? So we saw let's talk about some of these reveals and some of these Hall D23 events. Some of these Hall D23 events, we went to Legends. We had a reservation for that, and that was seeing legends of Disney honored, and this time you knew who they were in advance. It was the 4 main cast members in Frozen. Right. It was 2 of the characters from Grey's Anatomy.
Meredith and Dr.
Thank you. I'm not a Grey's Anatomy person. Some great Imagineers and animators and musicians.
Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman was so moving.
You're right, and it was almost worth it just to hear his brother speak about him and that whole thing. Damn,
but if it wasn't for Chadwick Boseman,
what a loss!
I don't know that I would have felt like all the time and effort we put into it was worth it.
I think beforehand, I was really excited to see like Kristen Bell, Josh Gad, Jonathan Groff, and Idina Menzel. I was really excited to see them. So, yeah, I'm glad I saw them. Would I have been just as happy seeing it on YouTube later?
Exactly.
Probably.
Right.
Probably. So did it matter that I was in the room for that? I'm going to say no this time. I'm going to say no. That me standing in line and trying to get into this Legends panel. I don't know.
Well,
what do you think?
And here's the thing. It depends on who you are and if that's valuable to you. I have never found a ton of value in being in a room with 7,500 people and a celebrity. I mean, that's the Hall H experience. And I've always felt like, for the amount of time I'm investing, particularly at Comic-Con, where it might be like your whole day and the night before and all that kind of stuff, it's not worth it to me. I will say that this is the area in which Disney really improved on that process, in that, on the one hand, if you think about the hour and a half you got to wait to get in there, that sucks. But if you compare it to what it would take to get in the Hall H at Comic-Con, it's awesome, right? If you get the reservation.
Right. Now there is to tell you there is a standby line and a standby queue, but you're not guaranteed.
And most of the time, people weren't getting
it for the big stuff. They weren't. Yeah. Now there was what I would call little stuff in Hall D23 that I didn't think maybe. I thought so. Encanto with all the cast members, and as you saw, Lin-Manuel Miranda beamed in from wherever he was. That was awesome.
Yeah, that wasn't in Hall D23.
No, but I think that it could have been. Yeah. I think that it definitely could have been, because at the same time I was in Hall D23 and I was waiting for the TV Disney branded television, which Al doesn't really care that much about.
It's mostly, I think you would be familiar with it if you had kids, and it's just not something. I don't have kids, so it wasn't really something I had a lot of investment in.
And for me, it was good memories, because man, did Emma and Annika watch like all those shows, and this would have been their thing. And so Emma was even watching it from behind the scenes, and she's like, "Oh, Mom, I'm so jealous you're at this panel." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I got to get out of here." I was like, because you have reservations, and just because you get there early enough does not mean your seat is going to be great, which I experienced for that panel. It was horrible. It was so bad. I couldn't see anything. And, sometimes they put up what they're filming on the screen, right? On the big screen, so you can see it. But where I happened to be sitting, where they sat me, I didn't choose this. So they sat me here, was in front of a screen that was not showing anything. It was just very, very frustrating to me that I waited so long to get in. I didn't have a good seat. And then I'd getting these texts from Al, "Oh, Lin-Manuel Miranda is here in Encanto."
Oh my God. The actual Encanto people are singing. We don't talk about Bruno. Oh my God, Bruno just forecasted my future himself. He came out. No, I mean.
So, there were hits and misses.
But the thing is like, I also will say that with the reservation system as a whole, if there hadn't been sort of 4 of us to 5 of us working together, like we wouldn't have seen most of that stuff. Like, I didn't get any Hall D23 reservations when I put mine in. I don't think so. Nope, I didn't get.
No, you didn't. You got in on
and so we were able to sort of work together to get things. But I will say, by the last day when nobody got any passes to the Disney Parks panel, and I was paying close attention online.
No, that's not true. That's not true. Fernando and Gabby went.
Fernando and Gabby went. And I realized they also had a Disney Live Pavilion, which is where they did the live streaming, and that you could just sit there and watch what was going on in Hall D23. That wasn't true for the Marvel panel or the Disney panel, but it was true for the Parks panel. And I thought that was a much better way to actually watch that panel, although we didn't get all the free stuff. We just kind of were able to kick back and watch the panel and, take bathroom breaks. And I thought that was a really good way. And from now on, I would probably prefer that venue than trying to get into Hall D23 for some of those panels.
Yeah, it was still great because we were still watching the screen, which, judging by our seats, we were watching the screen anyway. Yeah. We did miss out on the freebies that they gave away. So they were giving away some prints, and they gave away some bakery items.
Although I will say, and this is just one of those weird things, one of my favorite YouTubers was sitting right behind us, and the back of our heads are in the fresh baked D23, one of their things for like an hour and a half while he's commenting on the Parks
panel. Is that true?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know that.
And I'm just looking at the back of my head and and then at one point I get up to go upstairs to one of the you can hear us. It's hilarious.
Oh, that is so funny. That is so funny. I'll have to look at that for sure.
They were literally sitting in the row behind us, so it was pretty funny.
I will say though, if I had to pick of any of the Hall D23 events, and let me read to you guys what was in Hall D23 so you know what was offered to us this whole weekend. I have this schedule, and so Legends, which we talked about, there was the Celebrate the Magic of Disney and Pixar,
which I really wanted to go to, and I wasn't able to go to, and I hear it was a lot of really cool stuff. That was the one thing in D23 nobody was able to get to.
That's true. None of us were able to get into that. There was the Marvel Studios, Lucasfilm, and 20th Century Studios, which you were able to get in. You and Fernando.
That's where they did Rogers the Musical. And and
That
where
which was so
Harrison Ford
awesome.
showed up, and
You guys got a lot of good celebrities
good
in that,
stuff in
I
that.
will
A
say.
lot of good premieres.
Yeah.
Saw the Indiana Jones trailer, which is not going to be released online anytime soon. Saw a lot of Marvel stuff. They didn't announce a ton of stuff. And then we had to sit through a bunch of Avatar stuff at the end if I wanted to wait to get my freebies. Not impressed with Avatar.
You know, this is the one I went to, Disney's Epic Entertainment Showcase, the musical, the extravaganza. That panel was the Disney branded television
Right.
one. So I just realized that how they labeled that wasn't exactly telling what it was.
Right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I didn't really realize that before. And then Sunday, it was A Boundless Future, Disney Parks, Experiences, and Products. Now, if I was going to be in Hall 23, if I had to pick one Hall D23 experience, for me, it would have been the parks.
Yeah.
I thought
and
that
they gave some cool giveaways in that
happen.
one.
And they did give some cool giveaways. And then this one we did go to, Disney Princess the Concert live at D23 Expo. And
I love
that. It was good. It was good. I can see how some people might not be their thing. Yeah. I think Fernando took a little nap during that.
And there was still space at the end of that one. So that one you probably could have.
There was a lot of space. Yeah. And if you don't know, Disney Princess Concert, that is actually a show that is traveling the country. And so Susan Egan, she was Belle. She plays the voice of Meg. The names are Annalise, yeah, this is how great I am at Disney.
But Susan Egan.
For Broadway Disney stars, they go around the country. It's like a concert, right? And so you pay tickets to go to this. For me, I was like, yeah, I this is great because I probably, if it came to my town, would I go see it? Probably. So now I got to see it.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I can see how it's not everybody's cup of tea. But those were the things that people wanted reservations to. So you can see that some things were huge, right? Like the Marvel drops and the park drops. And then you had some other things that I don't know.
No, I mean, I think it was awesome. The Hall D23, the logistics of it was just a bit of a challenge, but nothing insurmountable. It's weird to say because they looked exhausted, but I kind of wish they had one more day. I guess I'm used to the 4 days of Comic-Con, and it just gives you a little bit of a breather. Because I felt like we were there, and from Friday till Sunday, it was like rush to get to see and do everything. And there were still huge swaths of the floor I didn't get a chance to see.
Yeah, there was a big part of the show floor that we missed that we said we were going to get to, and then for some reason or another we didn't. Where am I going with this? I wish I would have seen more of the smaller panels. I wish I didn't spend the hours that I had. I want those hours back for the D23 so I could go to some of the panels that I missed that I would have really liked to see. I would have really liked to see like the Disney fashion panel. There's just a lot of little ones that I would have liked to go to.
And I tell people this all the time in relation to these big conventions is the big panels are fun, but so much of the real enjoyment is in the small idiosyncratic panels that are just like you and like somebody that, so it's the example I use is, Lin-Manuel Miranda zoomed into the Encanto panel, which was cool, which nobody expected. When I was at Comic-Con, I had a friend who really wanted to see Neil Gaiman, and he was in a Hall H panel, and there was no way she was going to get in. And I just looked at the thing. I was like, because I was like, oh, there's this little comic that I know he's really into this thing. He's probably going to show up to the panel. And we went there. There's maybe 30 people there. And it was just a little panel in one of the side rooms, and Neil Gaiman walks in. I'm like, there you go. Here's Neil Gaiman. The small panels are the cool, interesting, because they're more focused on your little idiosyncratic interests, right? Like particularly D23, you might have a small panel about Herbie the Love Bug. Most people ain't going to go to the Herbie the Love Bug panel, but if you love Herbie the Love Bug, that's the panel for you.
I did like the surprises in the little panel, like you said, Lin-Manuel Miranda. And I know that there's just having Emma like behind the scenes, I know that she doesn't even know the surprises that are going to come out, really until the last minute. And she didn't tell us. She was very good about keeping her secrets. So that was good. But the character voices, I just, I mean, seeing the the 5, right? So there was a Goofy, Pluto, Donald, Mickey, Minnie. Seeing them was amazing. But then, you know, they had the Disney heroines, so they brought out Jodie Benson, Susan Egan, Linda Larkin, who was Jasmine, and Anika Noni Rose, who's Tiana, bringing them. But then also Aladdin shows up, you know, and then
after I left.
Oh yeah, it was after you left. Oh yeah, so Aladdin shows up. And they actually did a demonstration with he and Linda Larkin as Jasmine, and they actually did an animation demonstration about them recording their voices with the animation in the back, and it was freaking awesome. And then, as you know, because I was freaking out about it, Donny Osmond was a surprise, right? And he came out, but then he did his I'll Make a Man Out of You. He did that number. Now, Donny is a resident in Vegas right now. So he's doing his resident concert in Vegas. So he brought some of his dancers out. They got in costume and they did the whole thing.
Yeah, is it just him or is he with Marie?
No.
Sorry.
Just
Did they break up?
As brother and sister?
There's always been a weird thing between the two of them.
Oh, God. You're so gross. So gross.
I'm not the first. Saturday Night Live did that a long time ago.
I'm sure they did. So yeah, it was just the little ones that I would spend more time going to. I will give a shout out to 2 people I sat next to on the plane, Polly and her daughter Zoe, huge Disney fans, and I was so lucky to sit with them on the plane ride to the event, and then we were on the same flight back, so I got to hear about all the things that they did as well.
I will say, on my plane down, you could just tell who was going to D23, all the T-shirts and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, our plane ride there was, crazy full of D23 people. But they were sharing some of the panels they went to, like the Disney Wish, like watching the Wish being built and things like that. And the ambassador one, they went to the Disney ambassadors and heard about the ambassador. So that's what I want to spend my time doing. That's what I want to
I think I would focus less on the big Hall D23 panels and more on the smaller panels. I would say but when we go again, that's probably what I'll do.
Yeah. Hey, can we talk really quick? I didn't plan on this, but so many of our listeners and viewers watch other influencers, bigger, really? What?
More talented? Sure.
Bigger influencers and
Wait, are we even technically influencers?
Professional?
I don't think you can call yourself an influencer if you're over 50. So.
Oh, come on. There's a lot of influencers over 50. Anyway, I just want to talk about this for 1 second. Sure. Our tickets to go to D23 for 3 days were like 100 and some. I think they were less than 150. Yeah, I think they were less than 150. Okay. And that was for 3 days of everything. I'm going to tell you about a ticket that some people, influencers or not, right? Just most of the influencers had them, bought a ticket for $899. All right. Yikes. Okay. I know. No. I know. So $900 for a ticket for, we paid $149. They paid $900. 3 days. Their ticket got them into all of the Hall D23 events. Okay. All the ones I just read off to you, they were able to get there and they were able to get preferred seats. Right. So they were in the first 2 rows in the center.
Very good seats.
So picture that. Very good seats. Only for Hall D23, not
no other benefits.
Stage. Yeah. No other things. And so when we went there and we were in Hall D23 in the basement in the queues, I looked over and I saw, look, they also have to wait
an hour ahead
in the basement with you. They also have to be there so far ahead. They also have to sit on the basement floor if they don't want to be standing for an hour. I was shocked. I'm like, no, are you kidding? $900
at
for
least
Hall
put some
D23.
folding chairs out there.
And I don't think those influencers were at the Princess concert or
it was to get into the Marvel, into the parks, and into the Disney. Those are the ones.
Yeah, the Disney Pixar. So I mean, if you're like me, you're probably like going through Instagram or going through Twitter and seeing what these they're, as soon as these things are popping up, they've got it on the tweet. They've got it on the, you know.
And I will say the influencers I follow, like the guy who sat behind us, didn't pay that, didn't go to those.
Yeah, that's true.
And
That's
I
true.
was
That's
like,
true.
I would almost have been more disappointed if he had. And this, I'll just say it's fresh baked on YouTube. I Love Me does a really good YouTube channel on Disneyland. I saw Mr. Cheesy Pop, who,
You did?
I didn't get a chance to
I
say
didn't.
hi. He was shooting something, so I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't see him in with his badge didn't look like that. So the people that I really like just didn't do it. Do you think it's worth it for that amount of money? I very clearly don't think it's worth it, but I'm curious.
No, but there is a person. I mean, I even met Dave. He was in the row ahead of us on the plane, and he paid it. He and his wife paid it. They're not, influencers. They just like it. He said it was worth it. I'm like, give me a dessert party or something. Right. Give me some, give me some swag. Give me a chair to sit
lithograph or a piece of art.
I know. So keep that in mind for future D23s if you're considering paying the $900 price tag.
If you are, we'd love to hear from you, because I would like to have a more thorough discussion, because I cannot imagine how that is worth that price.
I know, but Al and I are so cheap, and we will get out of anything. So I don't know.
If there's an option not to spend the money, I'm going to take
it. Yeah. So that was that. What about okay? So let's go. We were talking about Hall D23. What about the reveals? Like, what to you were like some huge reveals? And so this is where I started going. So. You guys listening and watching also have the influencers. You were probably watching, as the announcements were being revealed. But Al, what to you was a great reveal?
Definitely the trailer for Indiana Jones, and partially because that movie's so far out and they were like, yeah, this is not going to be on YouTube anytime soon, and I haven't seen it on YouTube. That was really cool. I'll be honest, Marvel really underwhelmed. I think they kind of shot their shot at Comic-Con and didn't have anything left. At one point, they had the director that they just announced for Fantastic Four was sitting in the audience, and he stood up, and then they put the Fantastic Four logo, and then they said, yeah, we're not going to reveal anything Fantastic Four, and then they took the logo down. I was like, what?
They did a lot of that this weekend.
I think the Disney parks reveals weren't super great in terms of like the stuff that I thought was cool was so far in the future that it may not happen. Like they did a reveal that they're thinking about perhaps considering if they might think about at some point in the future considering doing a Madrigal House and doing a land based on Coco, and then doing what's everybody got really stoked about, like a whole Villains Land in Florida. Those are all awesome ideas I'd be really excited about, but they were so tentative and so in the future and so blue sky that I was like, I'm excited about them if they happen, but you've announced so much stuff here that hasn't happened, Well,
and one thing that bugged me about that is some of the influencers, some of the websites you might be reading, their headlines were
right.
Coco coming to Disney, Villains Land coming. And I was like,
and it was very clear in that presentation that it was like, this is blue sky.
If we could do this.
Right.
And if the planets aligned,
right.
Well, Mercury was in retrograde and, on a day,
right.
I don't know. It was
honestly, the biggest reveals were in the Disney Pixar that we didn't get a chance to go to, which was like Inside Out 2, which would have been really exciting to be there for.
Yeah.
And the movie Wish that would, like they announced a couple of new pictures that I had no idea about, and I was really excited for, but I wasn't in the room. That was the one that had the most concentration of big reveals, was the Disney movies and Pixar movies that are coming out. But Marvel and Lucasfilm didn't really announce much. They were like promoting stuff that we already knew, Willow, and we thought they'd do another Star Wars movie, but no announcement for that. No announcement for like new movies that we didn't know that Marvel was coming through. So, but I think coming out of COVID-19, it's just that time. I also think that they did more at Comic-Con, which I'm never going to be mad at. Comic-Con is always going to be where I think you probably should announce that big stuff to get a wider audience. But because the D23
True.
people are already gonna like the D23 people are gonna see this product. Like, you're not selling them extra, but Comic-Con people are like, well, maybe I'll see it, maybe I won't. So, honestly, I thought the big reveals were mostly the new Disney and Pixar movies coming out.
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, you're right about the reveals being there. I think just my excitement lies in the parks. I don't know why. I mean, yeah, those movie announcements were cool,
Yeah.
and
But
I
you've
like
always
seeing
been
some
like
of
your
those.
Disney fandom is much more tied to the parks than my
It
Disney
really
fandom is much more
is.
tied to the movies. I mean, we both
It
love
really
the other piece,
is.
but I think it's just sort of where the center of your fandom is.
And I didn't realize it as much until like this weekend. I mean, yeah, I shouldn't say I didn't realize it, but I felt it. Like, that's what I really wanted to see,
Right.
was the parks. And I was so happy to see it where we saw it, right? In that satellite location, watching it live on TV, and totally okay with that. So it was great. And yeah, I keep thinking, like we were just saying, I just keep thinking about all that concept art and how so many people are saying, going for the negative reaction, going for the fight, going for the clickbait.
Yeah.
It's just killing me.
And that's sort
I'm
of
like,
the whole
oh
thing
my
of the
God.
influencer culture, which is sort of a bigger piece that we could talk about at some point. But I don't think you and I are doing this podcast so that one day we're gonna make it a full-time job. But I
No, that's
you know,
true.
for folks who like the clickbait works, that's how you get eyes, right? I get it. I'm not interested in doing it.
I did love Tiana's Bayou adventure. I love
I will say
seeing
the
that. I
reveals
know.
in the Disney Parks Pavilion of sort of
Yes.
the maquettes of the new attractions, those reveals were really cool. And the new Walt statue, which we'll put pictures of us posing with. I don't think we've put them up yet on Instagram.
I put one
up. The Waters of Life, adding in the Moana. I thought all of those were not panel reveals; they were just reveals in the pavilion. The Mickey's Runaway Railway at Disneyland. I thought all that stuff.
But they did reveal the storyline, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Of the ride, which is not. I mean, it happens after the kiss, right? So, like, what happens after the movie? So it's not a tale of the movie in Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Bayou Adventure. Am I saying that right?
Bayou Adventure. Yeah.
I every time I say Bayou, I want to put blue. Blue Bayou.
Well, that's okay.
Like, wait,
we couldn't get a reservation.
No, I'm very excited about it, and I know there are some people that are so sad to see Splashbound go. I get it. I mean,
I know your nostalgia. I'm excited about the Tiana.
I'm so thrilled. I can't wait to see it, and just knowing all the technology that they have now than they did in 1980. What was it, 7 or 89 when it opened? I can't remember. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I can't wait.
And it's just really cool. So for those who didn't go, each of on the show floor, they have these big pavilions. And so each sort of Disney, I don't know, division will have like a giant pavilion where you can go in and see what they're working on. And so the Disney parks, you walk in and they had this pavilion and they just had these really huge models of the different attractions that are changing, and with a lot of details that you could like look down into and see. And they had Imagineers there to ask questions.
That was great. That was great.
A new Walt statue that's going into Disney World. I can't remember which park. Do you remember which park it's going into? I can't remember.
Is it Shanghai or is it? I want to say Shanghai. But you there, and you could take pictures with it, and very highly educated and successful Imagineers were just standing there taking pictures of people, which I thought was funny. Like, wow, really success in life. I know, poor guy.
But I thought that pavilion was cool, and it made, because that was really the only pavilion I was able to go through. And then again, it made me be like, oh, I wish I would have had a chance to go to some of these other pavilions instead of waiting in the basement to wait for D23.
Yeah. Me too.
And Tiana was on the balcony in that pavilion just waving to people, doing the Disney wave and point thing, which I think is so hilarious and fun.
It's great. I can't wait for the whole thing to happen. I just am so excited, and I wish you guys could have. Go look at it. Go look at it on YouTube. Go look at it on something, and please, just try to find some of the excitement that we have for it.
That's really. I think
it's going to be so good.
If you're listening to this podcast, you'll probably be excited, unless you're just listening because you think Andee and I's voices are so like mellifluous. But I think if you downloaded a podcast called Dueling Disney, you will enjoy the stuff that we saw.
That is true. Okay, really quick, we are going to make this a 2-part episode for sure. But before we end this one, I just want to talk about the actual merchandise that we liked. Because guess what? A lot of it you can buy on shopdisney.com. Not all of it. They did have some exclusive merchandise that I didn't care all that much about.
Me either. I worked really hard to go see it because I thought it was going to be like just devastating, and then when I got up into like the super, it's 100% exclusive, you can't get this anywhere else room, I was like, I don't want any of this. And I just left in like 5 minutes.
I know. There was merchandise that you could only get there that was actually D23 Expo 2022 specific. I'm kind of curious to see what they do with that merchandise that's left over. They said they're not going to put it in the park, so I don't know what they're going to do with the leftover merchandise, but I do know from talking to people in the airport on the way home, I was wearing my D23 jersey that we got, and that's my favorite.
Yeah, I like the jersey
that I got was that.
I actually really like this hoodie. If you're
jersey.
Watching this on YouTube that I'm wearing, it's Star Wars, but it doesn't scream Star Wars, so it's really cool.
I know, and that's Ashley Eckstein. I love her. She's Her Universe, and she does a lot of other. It's not just her, but that's the name of her company.
It is Her Universe.
It is Her Universe. But anyway, so we got these jerseys that I really loved, and so when I was wearing it on the way home, and somebody approached me and said, "Hey, does that run pretty true to size?" And I told her that, I had to take a size down, and she goes, "Oh, that's what I was afraid of. The only thing they had left when I got there," and she's talking Sunday afternoon, right? So when it's almost done, was a double XL that she got. And so we were just talking about she was telling me about the merchandise that was left. Yeah. We were there at the beginning, and so she was there at the end. And it seems like it was
sizing,
slim pickings.
If you're not a standard size, it can be really hard. Like there's plenty of stuff that I would have bought if they had my size, but they didn't. But I did find I wear a triple X. Technically, I could probably wear a double X, but then it's not long enough. So I wear a triple X, and it's really hard to find that size. It's also really hard to find that size at the parks, but it was really hard to find things in that size. So if you're a non-normative size, it can be hard to find your size. So if you do need those sizes, I would try to get into those shops early. But you were able to get me a 3X in the baseball jersey, which I really appreciate.
And we're going to thank right here on the show, we're going to thank Patrick from Puerto Rico, because I walked in and I did not see a 3X when I was shopping for you. And I said, "Do you have any in the back?" And he was able to find the last one.
God,
Thank you, Patrick.
I'm so grateful.
You are so awesome that I was able to do
that. I love it. I haven't even worn it again. I was thinking I might wear it. I'm going to the city to see Moulin Rouge this afternoon, so I might wear it into the city. But it's raining,
there you go.
So I don't want to get it wet. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. It's like a gremlin. You don't want to get it wet?
It's exactly like a gremlin. I can't feed it after midnight.
All right, guys, obviously we cannot do everything we want to talk about in one episode. So in the next episode of our D23 Shindig reveal, we want to go over more of the panels, some of the little panels, and the things that we saw on the show floor. The show floor was pretty nifty. I liked it. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about more of the people that we met, the weird Disney adults that are like us, or the normal Disney adults that brought their weird Disney children because they love their weird Disney children. Should actually D23 be for little children? I've got opinions on that as well. The food. Why do we need to talk about food? Because we need to talk about the awesome setup that happened at the D23 Shindig, and talk a little bit more about Walt's Plane and what that's all about. Definitely talk about what we do differently next time. And then if you didn't know, there is also, and I will share this actually on our show notes, D23 had their special Oogie Boogie night.
Mm-hmm.
That Saturday night. Al and I are way too tired to be doing these late night things after a full day at the convention.
Although I am going back to do it with my nephew next month, so I will have a full report.
But you won't get that special
D23
poster.
No, I will not.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. Anyway, I'll put the article about that night into our show notes because it's written by the one and only Emma Zomerman. So, I'm super proud about that. So episode number 1. We want to hear from you. If you want to tell us your experiences at D23, or there's something we absolutely need to talk about in our episode 2. Don't forget to join Dueling Disney Community Duelists. Duelists are where we share with you and you share with us all the things that you're doing in your Disney life. That's on Facebook. Go ahead and keep subscribing, keep watching right here on YouTube. If you're watching us here, we'd love a comment. We'd love to know who's watching. Also find us on duelingdisney.com, Facebook, Insta, and Twitter. We're at Dueling Disney. Hashtag Dueling Disney, and we'll see all your lovely pictures that you take. And please don't forget to leave a review for wherever you watch or listen to Dueling Disney.
Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened. Wait for the podcast to come to a complete stop before disembarking. Permanece sin tabos, por favor.